Picture this, you've just docked at St. Thomas, ready for a day of sun and adventure, but things don't go quite as planned. Our day took some unexpected twists, and I'm here to share the inside scoop. What we did right, what we did wrong, and how you can avoid the same mistakes on your next trip. Hey cruisers, this is Jeff from Enjoy Life Traveling. Ready to find out how a simple taxi ride turned into a full-blown tour? Let's dive in. St. Thomas was one of our 3 port stops during this cruise, and I wanted to share our experience with you. Our ship docked at Crown Bay Port. This is the port that can accommodate the larger cruise ships like Wonder of the Seas. We had a loose plan that we were going to find the ferry and go to Water Island to explore Honeymoon Beach. We had researched this on YouTube and thought it looked like a good plan. Because this turned out to be a short port day, plus we had just spent a full day at the beach at Coco Cay on our last port, we changed the plan to going to Mountaintop for the famous Banana Daquiri's, plus an amazing view of Magan's Bay and the other surrounding islands. We arrived at the port later in the day than we are used to and had a fairly short amount of time to spend in St. Thomas. After walking around the port area and stopping for a drink at this cool bar inside a windmill, we decided to go to the taxi stand and take a ride up to Mountaintop. We were stopped on the way to the taxi stand by someone claiming to be a taxi driver, but we decided it'd be safer to actually go to the taxi stand and get to someone we knew was a driver. The brochure we were handed when getting into port listed the taxi prices. Mountaintop was listed as a $12 per person each way. We had heard that the views were amazing and knew that this was the home of the world-famous Banana Daquiri's, so we decided to check that out. We walked through the port to the taxi area and inquired about a ride to Mountaintop. Even though this seemed to be a short trip, we could not find any taxi driver that was willing to take just the 2 of us to Mountaintop. They told us we could go there as part of a tour, but we were just wanting to go to Mountaintop regardless. We needed to talk to the person who was managing the taxi area. There was a woman that was in charge of routing all of the taxis and tour buses. When we spoke to her, she kept telling us to wait over there. We waited quite some time while the buses and taxis were being loaded and sent away. She never came back to inquire about us, so we asked again. Once again, we were told to wait. We were concerned that we were going to just stand there for the day, waiting for them to decide if they could take us or not. At this point, it was well after 2 p.m., and we were hoping to be back on board for dinner in the main dining room at 5. We started inquiring about the tours that were being peddled in the area. One tour that was being sold for $38 per person, and it included Mountaintop. Since the taxi ride alone would be $24 per person round trip, and we had no idea if that was even going to happen, we made the decision to join the tour group. We paid the additional $14 per person for the narrated trip to Mountaintop so we could get our sightseeing adventure started. If you're traveling to St. Thomas, my advice is to not rely on the taxi system to get you to Mountaintop. Several taxis headed to the downtown area or different beaches, so that may be easier if that is your plan for the day. But to get to Mountaintop, save yourself the headache and book the tour. The tour that we took was $38 per person. Through the cruise ship, you can reserve the panoramic St. Thomas and Island Drive for $64 per adult and $49 for children if you prefer the security of the cruise ship. We boarded the open-air bus and settled in for our scenic drive of the island and up to Mountaintop. Our guide was very knowledgeable about the island. As we drove, he gave us some history of the island from the time it was discovered by Christopher Columbus in 1493 to the purchase of the island by the United States from Denmark in the 1970s. St. Thomas generates power for St. John and Water Island using a power plant that is ran by propane. The water that is supplied by the island is desalinated ocean water that is processed on St. Thomas. When homes are built in St. Thomas, they are required to have a cistern to capture and store their own water. During times of drought, they may have to purchase water from the water company, and that can run anywhere between $500 and $1,000 per truckload. Our first stop was the scenic overlook where we could see the beautiful waters of the Caribbean Sea and Emerald Beach.
Keep in mind now we have 2 bodies of ocean here in the US Virgin Islands. We have the Caribbean Sea, which is what we are looking at now. We also have the Atlantic side. You'll get a chance to see that once we get to the next side of the island. We're going to start right down our mountain all the way to the point. You have one of our main source of food provision that been spread around the island is at Bodo. So the largest farmers market we have is down there on the west side. Okay, so that's the west side of the island. It's called Bodo. It's farmers market that open pretty much daily. We have another one in downtown, which is only opening on a Saturday. This one's open every day. All right. Then we have the University of the Virgin Islands. You see the buildings on top of the hills? It's called a UVI, University of the Virgin Islands. We host about 1,400 students yearly at our university. They actually recently going to finish a medical school center as well. Even though we have the practice of medical on the compound, they are opening one on its own to accommodate more students. So if you have grandchildren and all of that, please send them to the US Virgin Islands. They want to be doctors. Then we have our airport right here. The name of the airport is called Cyril E. the King Airport. He was the second appointed governor. He was the one that extended the airport out into the ocean. Okay, that was in 1952. Then you have Lindbergh Bay. Right here, Lindbergh Bay. It was named after a famous Navy aviator. Then you have the two closest hotels nearest to the airport. You have Lindbergh Bay Hotel and Emerald Beach Hotel. However, on the new maps today, you will see Emerald Beach Hotel. But the original name when the US bought it in 1970, they named it Lindbergh Bay after the Navy aviator. And as you can see, the water is crystal clear. Pretty much everywhere you go on the island, you're going to see the water like that. Even though you have the Caribbean and the Atlantic side, the water pretty remains beautiful like that. Sand is very nice. As you can see, everything is gorgeous right here. So basically, that's what you have on this side of the island. And that's the west side. Any questions, guys?
Is that a public beach down there?
Yes. So all the beach on the island are public. However, some of them you have to pay because they are run by the government. But this one you don't have to pay. So after the tour, anybody that want to go to the beach, it's not, you can either walk to the beach or you can pay $6 a person to get you to the beach. It's very simple.
The next stop was a scenic overlook where we could see several islands, including Puerto Rico. On our way to this stop, we passed Brewer's Beach. The guide said this beach was popular because of its white sandy beaches and beautiful water, and was well known for its snorkeling. He guaranteed that if you snorkel there, you will see stingrays and sea turtles. We stopped at a lookout over Perseverance Bay. From there, we could again see Puerto Rico, several uninhabited islands, Roach Island, and the extension of the airport that jets out over the ocean. Our tour guide also pointed out a Caribbean almond tree and a manjack tree. Apparently, the manjack tree's leaves were used by early inhabitants of the island to clean dishes. He said the leaves were as strong as steel wool and could get pans clean. We got back to the open-air bus and continued up the mountain through the Santa Maria area. Our guide pointed out many types of fruit trees as we drove by, such as mango, five-finger fruit, plums, bananas, coconuts, guava berry, and soursop, which he claimed was supposed to be good for preventing cancer. We drove by many very expensive homes. According to the guide, the homes on this side of the mountain go between $800,000 and $1 million. The reason that they are so expensive is because it costs between $70,000 and $100,000 just to install a cistern. On the east side of the island, homes are between $300,000 and $400,000. After some sharp turns and narrow roads, we arrived at Mountaintop. Since we were on a tour, we were on their schedule. We were given roughly 20 minutes to shop, drink, and enjoy the view. On this day, the store and bar were jam-packed and full of people. We had to choose between shopping and getting a daiquiri. It appeared that most of the stuff in the store were souvenir-type items that we could get near port. We opted for the famous Banana Daquiri's and a look at the view. After about a 15-minute wait in line, we got our drink and took it out to the observation deck. The Banana Daquiri was good, but the views were amazing. From this vantage point, we could see so many islands and Magan's Bay. They had a picture mounted from the viewing deck that had the different islands labeled so we could tell what we were looking at. This view was well worth the drive, and we were so glad that we decided to do the tour. After spending a few minutes enjoying the view, taking some photos and selfies, then it was back to find our tour bus. The parking was a little tight in this area, so the guide opted to park in a larger lot above the store. He walked down the steps to let us know where he was parked and corralled us all back up to the bus to finish our tour. The ride down the mountain was just as beautiful as the ride up. Our final stop was a scenic overlook of the downtown area. We had views of the beaches, islands, cruise ships, and the red roofs of downtown. There were a few vendors selling souvenirs, so you could take in the view and had enough time to make a quick purchase. We were dropped off back at the port near where we were originally picked up. This was a nice and easy way to see the island. St. Thomas is beautiful, and we were excited that we will be visiting this port again in the near future. This cruise was a free comped cruise from the casino. If you would like to learn the best ways to receive multiple free cruise offers, just click this link. There are so many ways to get free cruises. Thanks for watching.